Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 5:22 a.m.
Alexa, what time does sunrise?
Sunrise is at 6:59 a.m.
Wonderful. All right, let's get to it. That's good coffee. It's really good coffee.
Welcome back. So there's a million things for me to talk about since I got back from Italy. It's 5 o'clock in the morning because it's 11 o'clock in Milan, and that's what I'm used to. So I'm going to spend my mornings talking to you guys because I'm all alone in this apartment in Dallas. Today, I'm going to talk to you about managing employees and the implications of what this could have on your Airbnb business, because I know some of you have some cleaners or somebody else that can be hard to deal with, and the proverbial shat will hit the fan if you are a bad boss. I mean, it's just the way the world works. So without further ado, I'm going to teach you to be a better manager and to save your company from the risks associated with bad or unmotivated employees. Let's get into it. And you know, I actually hate to do this video from the position that I'm in because it's one of those hard lessons I've learned, but maybe that's what you guys like about this channel. You know, I'm just some guy who started an Airbnb business 4 years ago, and I've learned a lot of things the hard way. I guess I'm proud of that. This one should be no different then, right? So spent 2 weeks in Italy, and while I was gone, I lost, like, I swear, must be near $2,000 in, like, refunds, booking cancellations, loss of productivity, excess payroll, just a bunch of junk that I had to pay extra money for because my employees weren't in the right state of mind. And it could have been avoided, and that's why I'm here. So I'm going to teach you how to avoid that and save yourself thousands of dollars, and I'm going to teach you like kind of like the things that happen when people in our industry don't like their job anymore, because there's some common side effects there. So you might notice that the screen looks weird, huh? This is a new lens I bought while I was in Italy. I actually cracked one of my lenses mountain climbing and cliff diving. So I had to go to a new camera store and buy a new lens. And you know what? I decided I needed a wide angle lens to capture beautiful landscapes like Mount Vesuvius. Let me see if I've got anything in my B-roll for you of Mount Vesuvius. That was cool. Speaking of, I lost my drone at the top of Mount Vesuvius. I flew it into the crater and it like lost signal and tried to auto land, but since it was lower than I was, it just softly landed at the bottom of Mount Vesuvius. So if any of you want a Mavic Air, feel free just to go hiking. It might be really wet because there was a storm that rolled in. The storm was really cool. The clouds were just kind of like rolling in the side of the crater. I had some really good drone footage until the drone disappeared. So, but anyway, for those of you that I've talked about my gear, like what I shoot with, I'll send a link to this lens because I'm kind of falling in love with the thing. I want you to check it out. So let's talk about employees. Let's talk specifically about cleaners. If you have cleaners that run your company, and I'm going to say it like that because a lot of you guys, you've started your Airbnb business, you were your own cleaner, you checked in your own guests, and you did it all yourself, and things started to change. What you may not realize is by having cleaners do all the showing up at properties after guest leaves, making the place ready, handling the keys, your cleaners are your strongest point of contact between your business, your properties, and your customers. Your cleaners are the glue of your business. If your cleaners don't do their jobs right, your business can just essentially crumble. So what happens when a cleaner's not happy, right? If a cleaner's mad at their boss, right? Or something of the sort, maybe mad about a decision you made, about their hours, a raise that they didn't get or not big enough, or some other squabble, maybe even a guest-related one, and then you didn't back them up when they got in a quarrel with a guest, which actually happens. It's shit that happens, but you have to be careful. These all lead to a drop in motivation. They may also not feel appreciated enough, and you don't give them enough love and stuff like that. So there's a few different things, and I'll actually write on my Facebook like things that motivate employees, things that employees need at their workplace. I'll share some stuff on our Facebook page, which is basically facebook.com/Airbnb automated. So I'll back this part up with content, just written stuff, because I'm not going to go drone on about it here. But there's things that people need to feel happy. When they're not happy, here's what happens. they'll show up to work, they'll do their minimum work, they'll cut corners, they'll be on autopilot, things like that. So when a cleaning staff is on autopilot, they stop doing the checks that they need to do. They don't check under, the mattress cushions and clean the couch properly. They don't do the baseboards. They don't clean the ceiling fans. They don't check weird areas to make sure that they're clean, like inside the stove. They stop doing quality stuff like that. Now, they also stop protecting you. So if they're mad at you specifically or the company, or they feel like they've been ignored for something, which I was in Italy for 2 weeks, so I wasn't feeling text messages, they could feel ignored. So what they do is they stop protecting you. So let's say a parking pass goes missing, and in some buildings people need a parking pass to park. Your cleaners could just not report that a parking pass is missing. They just go, they clean, they do their thing. They don't say, oh, there's no parking pass here. They let it go. Next thing you know, a guest checks in, doesn't see a parking pass, doesn't read their house manual too, combination of the both, and parks where they're not supposed to without a parking pass, right? And then they get towed. That'll cost you a couple $100, pop, just like that. And that happened to me twice, the same night, the same building, while I was in Italy. Not cool. So, such is life. Now, there's a couple ways to avoid this. You could have backup parking passes, but of course the guest would have had to read the house manual to find the backup parking passes, so that's kind of a catch-20 there. We also, at a couple of buildings, have it where people pick up their keys from a person, and in this case, if you have a check-in and check-out where you have like a property manager do the guest check-ins and check-outs, then it's possible for somebody to do some quality control in your cleaners, and I recommend that. That's been great. The buildings that we have these bags of, like we have these check-in bags with the keys and parking passes in them, where somebody else gives them to the guest, those go really well, because that extra point of control, that human element there, helps manage the cleaners. You could also do something that we're implementing. We're hiring a reservation coordinator, and that reservation coordinator will be calling every single guest or messaging them on Airbnb prior to their arrival to make sure that they're reading their house manual, their check-in instructions and stuff like that, just quality control. So that's how you could avoid that, aside from the cleaner issue. So there's a book I recommend reading. This book is called Multipliers. It's about managing people and how one manager can either make people better or make people worse at their jobs. It's one of my favorite management books. I have it on Audible, and I actually have a group Audible account for all my managers in my other company, Media Press Promotions. I have all my leadership access this Audible account. So we buy one book, and a whole flurry of managers, sales managers, regional managers can listen to the same corporate material. It means everybody's on the same page. Business and culture in business is about unity. People need to be on the same page, marching to the same beat of the same drum. So that's a great book if you want to try to be a better manager. So things that are important to keep people happy at this point. You need to communicate when you're not going to be available. There is one person between me and the cleaners, which is Catherine. But if Catherine doesn't do a good enough job communicating with the cleaners just assume that they need to talk to me directly. And because of that lack of communication between me, Catherine, and the cleaners, that I'm not available to talk to you, it can be taken as I just want to ignore you. So communication is important because people take communication as a sign of respect. You also need to treat people's issues like a big enough deal. If you are too busy for what seems like a small problem, I get that because I'm super busy myself, but the person's small problem to you is probably one of their only problems. To them, it could be a big problem to them. So I guess here's the issue that we've had lately is we wrote a software where people check in and check out. Well, there's a software bug in it, and I need to fix it. But what happens is if somebody doesn't clock out properly, they clock everybody else out in the city. So cleaners have actually had a couple hours missing because there's like one person clocks out lazily and doesn't like do their thing right, and then it just somehow there's a bug clocks everybody out. So while we're trying to resolve a payroll issue, I'm not around to field phone calls. Cleaners get angry. So they stop protecting you. The moral of that story. Now, there's other things. You have rep turnover. People will quit if they're not happy with their job. And the problem is when people quit, they'll take other people with them, right? Because employees talk to each other. So let's say you have 2 or 3 cleaners and they're overall a good team and one leaves, but one's kind of like the alpha dog of the pack. They could get the other 2 people to leave. I've actually had my cleaners start a cleaning company to try to compete with me the first time that I had people quit. That was a mess. They tried to steal my clients, but my clients were like, I had one client that wasn't my own stuff. So it was so funny that the cleaner kind of didn't understand the structure and was trying to like steal my own properties from me. That was kind of hilarious. But they could try to compete with you if you give them the opportunity to. Stuff happens. So now if your management is unhappy, not just your base level employees, like, because if your base level employees are unhappy, they just don't do their work right? If your management is unhappy, then they become the decay in the communication. They become the decay in the quality control. They stop supervising things like they're supposed to. And there's one adage that somebody that I really respect, you said that she learned in business school, it's continue to inspect what you expect. And a property manager or a first line manager, their job is to inspect the processes that you've put into place. So the course that I'm working on, we're talking about process design, about you really assessing the uniqueness of your property and then taking the uniqueness of your property and finding out the processes that you need in order to run your Airbnb business the way that yours needs to be. Because I'm going to be teaching you guys from experience from my 40 some odd properties. Each property is different. Each building has a different check-in process, has different things to consider when cleaning. Guest check-in and check-out, of course, is a huge part of that, and the implications of key transfers, and of course, dealing with the building management, your building relationships, everything's unique. So when you design an operating model for each building, it's not going to be cookie cutter necessarily to the building that you just picked up last time. Little things change. Logistics with your cleaners change. And of course, the complexities of running the property some can be greater, some can be easier. I have some properties that are a breeze to run, and I have some properties that are a bear to run. It's just the nature of the business. So we're going to cover a lot of that in the course. We're also going to cover, of course, hiring and managing and motivating cleaners. So instead of just a book review, I'm going to give you kind of more of a definitive layout. Coming soon, by the way. Now that I'm back from Italy, we can finally hammer home the course and get it done for you. So this is a warning to you guys. Manage your cleaners. Manage your relationships with them well, even though they're first line employees. And if you grow to my size or bigger or near my size or whatever, and you have a dozen employees working for you, some of them might feel left out. That whole cultural fit into the company, feeling appreciated, is going to be important. So make sure you spend time, or if you have a manager in charge of those people, make sure that manager is spending the right amount of time and using what we call emotional intelligence to manage your employees. It'll save you a bunch of money on these little fallouts that you'll have. Also, one thing is with Catherine, when she gets too stressed, she isn't the nicest to our guests, and this causes issues. So we are in the hospitality business, customer service, and you might have a dynamic leader who's good at getting things done that just forgets to have soft hands with your customers. And if your manager's overworked, it might be time to do what we're doing and getting that reservation coordinator, which is going to be a softer layer, a softer face, a kinder voice, always as their priority, to say, hi, welcome home. So thank you for watching Airbnb Automated, and I will see you on the other side.